This is a sports catastrophe production. Hey there, Heather, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond. Welcome you to another sports catastrophe on this day. And on this day, June 23rd, 1981, finally, the longest game in pro baseball history ended. It was a crazy time. The game that started on April 18th, 1981, finally ended on June 23rd, 1981. When Pawtucket beat Rochester in AAA baseball, 3-2. Wait a minute. Hang on. You'd be thinking, how could they play 33 innings in like 33 days? Well, it didn't happen that way. I'll tell you all about it. So, the game started on Saturday, April 18th, 1981 at 8:20 p.m. There was actually a delay because of the stadium lights. So they went half-hour delay. So, anyway, Pawtucket was down 1-0, headed to the bottom of the ninth. Russ Larrabee had a sac fly that drove in Chico Walker. It was 1-1. And there were a lot of teams that had issues and all that. Wade Boggs, from the bottom of the 21st inning for Rochester, Rochester was up 2-1. Rochester, I believe, was the Minnesota Farm Club, or was at one time, and Pawtucket was Rochester was Baltimore's Farm Club, and Pawtucket was the Boston Red Sox one. And all that. So, anyway. So, there was some issues and all that. Rochester scored, but then Pawtucket had it. Wade Boggs drove it. It was 2-2. With the game tied, Wade Boggs actually had some teammates be hostile because they wanted the game to be over with. The weather was so cold, players had to burn broken bats in the stadium's wooden benches to warm themselves, and the clubhouse ran out of food. And the wind blew into the infield, making hits difficult. So, anyway. Luis Aponte pitched the 7 to 10 innings in relief. Aponte was told to leave the game early, but his wife said he did not explain his explanation for coming home at 3 a.m. Sunday being baseball. He said the Sunday newspaper would prove his story, but since the game's postponement occurred too late to appear in it, he had to wait to the Monday edition. So it was kind of funny and all that. Now, one tiny little problem with this game was that a lot of leagues have a curfew law that says innings can't start after a certain time. Take, for instance, the major leagues, because when I did on this day about the game in 1984 that went 25 innings between the Brewers and White Sox, they had to stop it at a certain time, and then before the regular season, the regularly scheduled game, they had to play that through. So anyway, it was weird and all that. The International League actually had a curfew rule at 12:50 a.m., but unfortunately, because of the rule book that home plate umpire Dennis Craig caught, they did not mention the cutoff time. At 4 a.m., the players were delirious from exhaustion. Rochester's Dave Hubbard had to be replaced after the first 31 innings, and Jim Umbarger did pretty well. The president of the International League, Harold Cooper, was actually reached on the phone by Pawtucket GM at 3 a.m. Cooper's like, stop the game at the end of the current inning. So at 4 a.m., the game had to be stopped at the end of the 32nd inning. There were 19 fans in the stands. So those 19 people were given season/lifetime passes to McCoy Stadium. as the players went home to rest before returning at 11 a.m. for an afternoon game on Sunday. They still had to play the afternoon game. They saw people going to Easter sunrise service. So anyway, both teams would sign a baseball on Easter Sunday for display at the Baseball Hall of Fame. Cooper said the game should have resumed Sunday afternoon, but Rochester manager Doc Everett said that it was a risk of energy. So anyway, the game ended up not competing for a long time. The next time Rochester came to town was June 23rd against the Paw Sox. So that was when they decided that we'll wait till June 23rd and play it. So a sellout crowd of over 5,700 people took place, mostly because, and 140 reporters from around the world, mostly because the major leagues at the time of the game in 1981 actually were on strike, so there was no professional baseball. And actually, there was an offer to resume the game at Fenway Park, but they didn't want to cross the picket line. It just took one freaking inning for the game to end as Dave Cosma got an RBI single in the bottom of the 33rd. The Paw Sox actually celebrated the 25th anniversary of the game. So it was like, that. So anyway, there were a lot of records set. Rochester scored in the 7th inning. Pawtucket tied it up in the 9th. Rochester scored in the 21st. Pawtucket tied it in the 21st in the bottom of the 33rd inning. The funny thing for the Paw Sox was that they used 11 batters. Only 11. Compared to Rochester, used 16 batters. So Pawtucket seemed decent and all that. So anyway, Rochester used Jones, Schneider, Luber, Umbarger, Grilly, and Speck as pitchers. Pawtucket had used Parks, Aponte, Semiranto, Smithson, Remerswall, Finch, Hurst, and Ojeda. So that was huge and all that. Many records were set. Most innings, 33. Longest time, 8 hours, 25 minutes. Most putouts by one team in one game, 99 by the Paw Sox. Most total, 195. Well, that would have meant that 96 from Rochester. Most total bats in one game by two teams, 219. Most strikeouts batting by one team in one game, 34 by Rochester. Most total strikeouts, 60. Most at bats by one player in one game, 14. Dave Cosma, Lee Graham, and Chico Walker. Most plate appearances, 15. Cal Ripken Jr., Dallas Williams, and Tom Eden. So anyway, there was a lot of notes. Russ Larrabee of the Paw Sox went 0 for 11 with a sac fly, striking out 7 times. Becoming the first player in history to surpass the titanium sombrero, 6 strikeouts in one game. Larrabee would have only struck out 3 times in a regulation 9-inning game. In the meantime, over 880 pitches were thrown. Dave Cosma got 5 hits in that game, including the game winner. And there was only one player from the Paw Sox Rochester who did not play that game. That was Kevin Kennedy, who would be a future Major League manager. Many players were there. 27 future and former Major League players played in the game. The Paw Sox had Chico Walker, who played 11 years in the majors between 1980 and 1993. Bob Ojeda, the winner of the game, would actually pitch for 15 Major League seasons and help the Mets, ironically enough, win the 1986 World Series against the Red Sox. So Ojeda was not happy. Welcome in that town and all that. But of course, Bob Ojeda is also remembered for being the only survivor of a boat crash during spring training in 1993 for the Cleveland Indians that saw Tim Cruz and, oh my God, I am blanking on the other guy's name. Tim Cruz and Steve Olin. Anyway, Bruce Hurst would be in the game. He pitched 15 seasons in the majors between Boston and San Diego from 1980 to 94. Manny Sarmiento pitched 228 games for the Reds, Mariners, and Pirates in the major leagues. Rich Gedman caught for the Red Sox pretty much throughout his career in Boston from 1892. Luis Aponte actually was a reliever for the Red Sox and Indians from 1980 to 1984. Julio Valdez would only play 65 games for the Red Sox. Wade Boggs had not been in the major leagues yet, but Wade Boggs, the legend that was him, the third base icon, the guy who ate chicken at a certain time, did worms from a certain time, and wrote the Hebrew word in the on deck circle, was there. And of course, Wade Boggs was an icon for many years with the Red Sox, Yankees, and Devil Rays. Marty Barrett would not play in the major league still in 1982, but he played second base for the Red Sox with regularity. Mike Smithson started a lot of games for the Rangers, Twins, and Red Sox in his career. And Roger LaFrancois would only play 8 games for the Red Sox in 1982. Win Riemerswald actually was a Red Sox pitcher, but the Dutch international, who was the best Dutch pitcher before Bert Bylund, decided to go to Italy for 5 years. On the other side, Rochester, they had Floyd Rayford, who played with the Orioles and Cardinals from 80 to 87. Mark Corey playing 59 games as an Oriole. Bobby Bonner playing 4 years with the Orioles. Steve Luber, who would pitch for the Twins, Jays, and Orioles with irregularity. Cal Ripken Jr. was part of the Rochester team, which was the Baltimore farm system. Yes, before Cal Ripken had that consecutive game streak and all that, he was in this game too in the minor leagues. Dallas Williams, who didn't really play that much. Dave Humpert was the catcher for Baltimore and Milwaukee, but only played 15 games. And Cliff Speck would only play 13 games. Anyway, Steve Greeley, the guy who lost the game for Rochester, he only played 70 games in the majors. Ironically, his son Jason would be a decent pitcher. So, yeah. So 33 innings is nothing to sneeze at. All that. The baseball record is 25 innings for the White Sox and Brewers in 1984, which I did it on this day about. So go take a look. And it was the on this day for May the 9th. So check it out. Anyway, I dropped out and I do.